Hi everyone, back to Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris back with a match preview for Newcastle United's upcoming FA Cup tie down at Ewood Park, yes, against Blackburn Rovers. It is, in fact, the Alan Shearer Derby. If you weren't aware, there is the glorious man himself representing both clubs extremely well. More on him in a second. But yes, it's the FA Cup. It's a chance for us to bounce back from defeat against Arsenal and a chance to progress into the quarterfinals. We're going to get stuck right into this in a minute. We're going to talk about how I think the team is going to line up and where we think the game hopefully will be won for Newcastle, because my God, this is a big game. But we'll get stuck right into this in a second. Just before we do, a little reminder, if you haven't already, click subscribe. I'd love you to come and join us. We're on 6,600 plus subs now, so loads of room for you, Evermore, all free content. If you want to give a little bit back to the channel and help us bring you this great content, there's a little option down below. If you want to become a member, a few of you have recently, we really appreciate that. Smash whichever option suits you best. We're closing in on 7,000. Help get us there, guys. We're still very much a baby in this whole world of YouTubers and podcasts, but thank you so much, everybody who smashed that button so far. But there's plenty of room for more of you. So do whatever you see best and click the button that suits you best. So let's get stuck in. And yes, we're still reeling really from the Arsenal defeat. I'm recording this the day after, really. I did my post-match about it. We got absolutely battered, wiped with the floor with, really, against a far superior team. Arsenal took it out on us, what happened to them midweek against Porto. Now, we need to do the same thing against Blackburn Rovers in the FA Cup. This is a real chance for Newcastle to progress to Wembley. This is a real chance for Newcastle to get into the European spots as well, without kind of sticking a flag in and hoping that we get there in the league, which at the minute will look like we're really struggling to retain any kind of league form. So we're going to get stuck right into this in a minute and just look at the lineup and how we think the lads are going to line up. But as I said, this game is very special in terms of one special individual who represented both these clubs absolutely superbly. I'm going to pull it up again because why not? There's any excuse to see the great man himself. Yes, the all-time Premier League goal scorer, Alan Shearer. Obviously, before he made his £15 million move to Newcastle United and became our club record goal scorer, he was Blackburn Rovers number 9. He helped them win the Premier League in the 94 and 95 season. Just for any of you Blackburn fans watching, 162 appearances, 123 goals and 33 assists. What a phenomenal player Alan Shearer was for Blackburn as well as Newcastle. I think there's a street in Blackburn on the way up to the ground called Alan Shearer Way, I think. And what better place to put this FA Cup tie than on the BBC as well. So I'm sure Big Al will be in attendance as well. And I'm sure he'll get love from both sides of the fan bases as well, because this is a Shearer derby. But listen, Newcastle, we desperately need to win this game after that Arsenal defeat. The season's kind of riding on the FA Cup, if I'm honest with you. We're tailing off in the season. You talk about injuries, you talk about everything else. A lot of the players are returning now, and we're still putting in shady performances. And we really need a bit of a reset, a confidence boosting result. And I think this game could be it. So I say we go full strength. This is how I think we're going to line up in the cup against Blackburn. We've got to go full strength. Now, you might look at a couple of names in there and think we haven't gone full strength, but we made some changes. I'm not sure Eddie Howe will make these changes, but these are the changes that I think that we should make. So starting with the goalkeeper, despite letting him 4 goals, I think Loris Karius did really well, especially coming off of his line and being a bit of a sweeper keeper, which Dubravka is terrible at. Karius was a lot closer to the way Pope plays that role than Dubravka is, and I think Karius showed some good shot stopping prowess as well. So I'd be more than happy for Karius to continue in the goalkeeping position against Blackburn on Tuesday night. The back 4, Trippier had a stinker against Arsenal, but again, you're talking about, does he bring in Lewis Hall at left back and move Tino to right back? I wouldn't be against that as well. I think this could be a good game for Lewis Hall to play as well, and maybe get some confidence in the lad. And he's got that quality to get up and down the line and really cause Blackburn some problems. I don't openly know a lot about Blackburn. I'll look into them in a second, and we'll talk about where they are in the season and their kind of players as well, and possibly the players they've lost really rather than the players that they still have. But any Blackburn fans in the comments, please let us know who your danger men are really, and we'll happily engage you in the comments. But yeah, for me, I'm going to go Trippier. I'm bringing in Jamal Lascelles because I think the Botman is really off form. I think he's playing with an injury. He's looked terrible the last few games. I think you could do with a spot on the bench. Move Fabian Shearer over to the left-hand side of the back 4, which he performed brilliantly out when Botman was injured. And then Tino Livramento continues at left back for me, despite Dan Burn's assist when he come off the bench. I just think Tino, put him in left back, let him play that game, and give him another 90 minutes under his belt. The midfield 3, I've made a big change there. I've taken Sean Longstaff out of my midfield 3, and I've left Louis Miley in, and I've brought Joe Willock in. Joe Willock looked brilliant when he come off the bench, probably the only bright spark in the Arsenal game. But for me, if you have to choose between Sean and Louis. I'm going to keep Louis in the side. I think he's quality on the ball. The way he uses the ball, I think he's much better for the midfield three than Sean is currently. I don't know what's going on with Sean. He doesn't look the same Sean Longstaff as he has done previously. Whether he's carrying a knock or whatever, I don't know. But Sean comes out the side for me. And then the front three, I'm going to keep Alexander Isak through the middle because we don't have any other strikers. I'm moving Gordon to the right, and I'm playing Harvey Barnes on the left-hand side. Now, for me, I think that is the strongest team that we can probably put out right now. It's probably the same kind of team I put out against Wolves, to be honest with you, if this team gets a result against Blackburn on Tuesday. But this game is huge. It's not just huge for Blackburn as well, because they want to progress into the cup. It's massive for Newcastle. You know, this could really be what makes or breaks our season right now. It really could. And I think from Eddie Howe's perspective as well, we'll talk about this on what's going on tonight as well. But, you know, there's a lot of people who are starting to turn a little bit on Eddie Howe in terms of the frustrations that they've got with the team he's selecting, the players that he's persevering with, the tactics or the lack of tactics, the lack of in-game management decisions that come on as well. Listen, Arsenal could have beat us even if we were on top form the other night, but it was the nature of the performance. It was a nothingness of a performance. There was no belief, there was no confidence, there was no strategy, there was no plan A, B, or C. You know, and we just can't have that happening going forward. You know, one thing about Eddie Howe's Newcastle is they've always had a belief that they can get something out of a game, but that team against Arsenal didn't look like they could do, and I really hope this isn't a sign of some issues behind the scenes with either the players' confidence in Howe or Howe's ability to get something out of these players, because that's what's made him so good at Newcastle in the short spell that he's been here. So a little bit about the competition. Blackburn Rovers are sitting currently in 16th in the Championship. They got rid of their former Newcastle striker, Jon Dahl Tomasson, back on the 11th of February, and they appointed John Eustace, who, if you remember, John did a great job at Birmingham before he was unduly shoved out the door for the glitz and glamour name of Wayne Rooney. I think Birmingham was sitting in 7th when they got rid of John Eustace, and then promptly were in the relegation zone, I think, when they binned off Rooney as well. So he's a decent manager. He's a young manager. He seems to play a decent style of football as well. They're still looking for their first win under John Eustace. I think since he's been appointed, they've had I think a defeat against Birmingham, ironically enough, on the 13th of February, and then they drew against Preston. Shortly after that, they drew against Cardiff, and then they just drew at the weekend there against Norwich 1-1 as well. Yeah, so when this tie was announced, we looked at Blackburn, obviously the whole Shearer thing came in as well, but there was one player that I was kind of concerned about in terms of an opposition player. I don't know a lot about Blackburn. Obviously, I knew Jon Dahl Tomasson was the manager, but there was a lad called Adam Wharton, who was a midfielder, very creative on the ball. We were apparently linked him as well, 19 years old, had a goal in him. They sold him to Crystal Palace for 18 million quid, so he's long gone now. So I'm not really sure who the kind of star players are, really. I had a look at the highlights of them against Norwich, and I mean, they weren't great, to be fair. You know, it's hard to judge Championship teams, but they got a 1-1 draw against Norwich, who are actually flying quite high, I think, in the Championship at the minute. Norwich are a decent side, especially when they go down into the Championship. You know, they are very much one of those sides. They're sitting 7th, I think. You know, so they're kind of close to break into the playoffs, really, and they'll be playing some good stuff. But they have got some big lads at the back as well, and I think they scored a good header from a set piece, which we're going to have to be careful about in this game as well, because they might go through it into the mix. It was the big lad Howe who scored the header, so that they're not too bad. They're decent in the air. They've got a decent lad up front as well, who kind of a bit of rough and tumble as well up front. It might mix it up a little bit with the likes of Shearer, but that's Lascelles' game. You know, Lascelles likes that kind of a player. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, those kind of players, bring it on for Jamal Lascelles. He's played against those types of players all day long. Yeah, I think it's I'm trying to pronounce his name here, Zimodix, I think it is. And there's Gallagher as well, who likes to mix it up as well. So yeah, they could very well, turn it into a proper old-fashioned FA Cup draw. But Newcastle should have the quality, I think, in that lineup that we've had to see off Blackburn and to get this win. And this is a huge game for Eddie Howe and for Newcastle. We need to win this game. We need to push on and get into the quarterfinals, and then go into Wolves with confidence as well. You know, and if we can get a good result against Wolves at home, we'll still keep the dream of a top 7 finish alive and win the FA Cup quarterfinal. So yeah, for me, prediction-wise, I'm going to go for Newcastle 2, Blackburn 1. I think they probably will get a goal because we're so leaky at the back. There's so many mistakes in the squad at the minute, so I wouldn't be surprised if they do get a goal. But it will be a tight one, so I'm going to go for Newcastle 2, Blackburn won. So let us know what you guys think in the comments below about the result. Do you think that's about right, or are you more confident? I don't know how you could be after the Arsenal game, but listen, if you are fair play. I admire your optimism. But let us know what you think about the lineup. Let us know what you think about the score prediction. If any Blackburn fans are watching as well, let us know your fond memories about Alan Shearer, and also what you think about the game and how confident you guys are going into it. We always like to hear from not just our own Newcastle fans, but of course other fans for the clubs as well. Everyone's welcome in our chat. As long as we just chat about football and don't abuse anybody, everybody is welcome. So smash a comment in, guys. Like the video to help the channel grow. As I mentioned at the start, if you fancy being a subscriber, smash that button. It's all free content. But if you do want to give a bit back and support the channel, there is a membership option down there below. We'll be back with a post-match analysis of this game on the Tuesday night. But before that, Mark and I will be back tonight with what's going on to cover the game in a bit more detail against Arsenal and have a good bit of crack as well about all things Newcastle and out of tune non-Newcastle United stuff as well. So have a cracking day wherever you are, everybody. And we'll see you later. Cheers.